Joe Biden announces his 2024 election bid. And to no one's surprise, Kamala Harris is still being named as his vice presidential running mate. But there's a little piece of the video. He didn't do a speech. He didn't do a Q&A, not a press conference. It was a very packaged, slickly produced ad agency kind of thing. And it I think, ran like at midnight or something like that. They released it in the middle of the night so all the news stations could start carrying it the next morning, which is an odd way to announce a presidential election, because usually you do it with a big rally, marching bands, and all the stuff. Joe puts out a video. But then again, we're talking Joe Biden. He might not know how to get on or off the stage if he were doing a live event, and they couldn't afford for him to just read from the teleprompter, because he would read the stage directions and might not be able to pronounce the words. But here's a little section that I want you to see, and I'll tell you why this is just really, in my mind, unprecedented for a campaign launch.
Sure that everyone in this country is treated equally and that everyone is given a fair shot at making it. But you know, around the country, MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms, cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes from the very wealthy, dictating what health care decisions women can make, banning books, and telling people who they can love, all while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote.
This was so amazing. First of all, he started out by saying just to treat everybody equally. Well, I don't think most of us believe we're all being treated equally right now. If you're Donald Trump, you have a SWAT team come to your home because they think you have some presidential records, which you, by the way, had the right to have. Joe Biden had records all over America, in his garage, in Chinatown. He had them at his house. He had them everywhere. And they called his lawyers and said, hey, if you want to guys come and look at them, I know you're being paid $1,000 an hour to be his lawyers, and you take a look and see, and we'll just let it go like that. No SWAT team in his house. So this nonsense about how everybody's being treated the same. People in January 6th, look, I'm not defending what they did. I've said all along, if they committed the crime, they ought to pay for it. But how they have been paying for it and how long they've been stuck in jail, a little different than the people who have destroyed our cities and burned and looted places all over America. None of them had that. And they didn't have Liz Cheney on her little perch talking about what a threat to democracy all of it was. So there's not an equality of treatment in this country. That was offensive. Then he gets in and says, but these MAGA Republicans, they're going to ruin the country. And then he lists some things that simply are lies. It's one thing for a campaign to be hyperbolic. That's normal. To say things in the most flattering way, to exaggerate. But these are blatant lies. When he says the Republicans are coming after your Social Security. No, they're not. No, they're not. That's a lie. It's not just an exaggeration. It is a lie, because they're not coming after your Social Security. Then he said tax breaks only for the wealthy. Again, that's just not true. The biggest tax breaks under the Trump tax cuts were for the middle class and the people who were barely making it. It wasn't for the wealthy. Then he said to try to keep women's health decisions. There's nothing healthy about an abortion. It's the only medical procedure in our entire culture in which one of the patients involved is absolutely going to die. So this idea that abortion is health care, that's not true. And Republicans are simply saying that we believe that life has value. I'm not ashamed of that. I want us to be a party of life. I want us to believe that the kid with Down syndrome is equally valuable as is the captain of the football team. I want us to believe that there's no such thing as a disposable, expendable, worthless human being. If that makes me against health care, I'm not sure I understand how that would, because I would think that we would want to be for the healthy outcomes for both the mother and the baby. So Joe, once again, was just simply not telling the truth. Then he said Republicans want to ban books. No, they don't. No, they don't. Actually, it's some of the people on the left that want to keep you from being able to read things that they don't want you to read. You can't even discuss various ideas about COVID. Well, they'll shut you down. And if you're a doctor, take away your medical license. No Republican wants to ban books. Now, to be fair, there are some Republicans, and I think probably a lot of Democrats too, who say that certain book materials should not be accessible to children if they portray sexual content that by anybody's definition could be deemed obscene and pornographic. We've got to get to the Kamala Harris story this week because at the beginning we were talking about who writes her speeches. That was our pre-poll, our pre-show poll. Well, we have it on good authority. We've discovered who it is who's writing her speeches.
Hi, I'm Oliver Bartholomew, and I'm 16 and a half years old, and I'm the speechwriter for Kamala Harris. One time, I was on the school bus, and I thought it would be neat if Kamala talked about the school bus. And who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right?
Who doesn't love a yellow school bus, right?
I can't take all the credit, though. Me and Mr. Kamala are a team.
You know, like relay racing? You know, you race and someone passes the baton and then, right?
But she kind of is crazy or something. And she kind of scares me. And you can't fake that kind of influence.
When we were sitting there watching that adorable kid, Pam said, you know, he kind of looks like a child version of Donald Trump with that red tie, white shirt.
Yeah, the navy suit.
It's funny.
Just a little bit.
Such a cute kid, and I love the car that he drives
adorable.
up in. There's a longer version of that video online. It's just hilarious. Now, if that kid's writing her speeches, it wouldn't be too surprising because here's an excerpt from one of them this week.
So I think it's very important, as you have heard from so many incredible leaders, for us at every moment in time, and certainly this one, to see the moment in time in which we exist and are present, and to be able to contextualize it, to understand where we exist in the history and in the moment as it relates not only to the past, but the future.
That was so profound. Thank you. We call that Kamala salad. I mean, it's about as appealing as kale salad to me.
Well, now, careful now. Some of us like it.
Okay, good. Well, you can have both the kale salad
and the
Kamala salad.
Okay.
You can have both.
Fair enough.
This week, Joe Biden had a news conference. He doesn't have many. He's had very few, fewer than any president, I think, since before Reagan. But when he starts to take questions, this is what's really interesting. He has a card in his hand, and he looks down, and he says, okay, my first question is going to come from, and he reads the name of the reporter. Here's how it went.
We're going to take some questions. The first question is from Courtney of the Los Angeles Times.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, now there you get the question. She asked a question, and if you just watched that clip, you'd think it was just some spontaneous thing. He looked down at the group of reporters, he picked somebody, but the cameras caught what was in Joe's hand. It was a cheat sheet. There it is on your screen. It's her picture, her name, and lo and behold, it is the very question that she was posing to President Biden, which the Los Angeles Times said, oh no, we didn't give the White House the text of our question in advance. No, we didn't do that. Well, this is the most amazing, miraculous coincidence we've ever seen in that almost verbatim, the question she asked was the question that Joe Biden had typed out on that card beside her name and her picture. Because that way, in case he couldn't remember her name or what she looked like, there it was, and it was made very, very easy for him. I just found that remarkable. Gosh, he's a lucky guy. Hey, Mike Huckabee here. Listen, if you love your mom, apple pie, and being conservative, you know you ought to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and click the like button, and show all the leftists out there that conservatives are thriving and patriotism is far from dead. Am I pandering too much? No way. I'm just getting started.